And finally, for today's episode, let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history.
This week, we will hear about Tyler Bowen, a forgotten church leader who was instrumental in setting up the infrastructure the church uses to call and sustain missionaries.
Welcome to This Week in Seventh-day Adventist History. On August 15, 1865, Tyler E. Bowen was born in the U.S. state of New York. As a student at Battle Creek College in 1887, he married Gertrude Russell. 3 years later, Tyler and Gertrude were called to evangelistic work in West Virginia. Soon his administrative abilities were recognized and he was elected Secretary-Treasurer of the small West Virginia Conference. In 1900, the Bowens returned to their home state when Tyler was elected Secretary-Treasurer of the New York Conference. 6 years later, he was called to the church's world headquarters in Washington, D.C. Tyler Bowen served there for 35 years, working in the General Conference Secretariat, where he was in charge of processing the calls for missionaries. That included handling all the complicated business of obtaining for them passports and permits and visas to enter foreign countries. Bowen established a complex system for managing everything relating to missionary calls. In this picture that you see here, you can see a page from one of the huge notebooks he managed, which tracked every missionary at each stage of the call and immigration process. This detailed work was utterly unknown to the great mass of Adventists, but was crucial to the massive expansion of the church's missionary enterprise in the 1910s, 20s, and 30s. Important as this work was, Tyler did more. Shown here with Gertrude in 1928, he was much in demand as a camp meeting speaker, sharing stories of mission. He was able to do this because he kept up a voluminous correspondence with missionaries in the field, helping them to feel connected and not forgotten. In 1916, for example, Petra Tunheim, a missionary to Southeast Asia, wrote from Java to thank Bowen for "your very kind and cheery letter. It gave me such joy to read it." 7 years later, Ferdinand Stahl, the pioneer missionary to Peru, wrote Bowen, "If I should get a letter from you every day, I would not think it too much. Your letters are always of great encouragement to us." Tyler Bowen retired in 1941 and died September 16, 1955, aged 90. He was little known at the time and has been largely forgotten since, but the worldwide church we know today owes much to his tireless, unsung efforts in the General Conference Secretariat. That was This Week in Seventh-day Adventist History.